What kind of does he play an instrument?
Yeah, he plays his specialty is the trumpet. He's
Oh, I didn't know that.
We're not recording, right?
We are, but I don't. This doesn't have to be in necessarily.
Oh no, that's cool.
Yeah.
I just
I pressed record a while ago,
watching a
but
tennis match.
right. Yeah.
welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
I interrupted Bobby. He was talking about.
Oh yeah, your son plays the trumpet.
yeah. He's a very talented musician. Plays the trumpet. There's an entire music culture around band and like marching band, like DCI, like Drum Corps International, where they go out and they.
Were you in band in high school?
I was in middle school and then my freshman year of high school. And the band director basically said I had to choose between band and football.
Same thing happened to me. So I was in band until freshman year, and then I chose football.
Absolutely.
My brother and my sisters all chose band, so they all played. It was a band family.
Yeah.
Growing up, and then I was switched and did the sports growing up. So they all did marching band, and I did football.
Right, and I would have loved to have stayed like in concert band. Like I enjoyed it. I was not good. I have no innate musical talent whatsoever.
I was not that great at. Well, I was okay. I played the trombone.
Okay.
But I never made it past 8th grade, so I never like really got into it. But I was in choir. I always did choir and stuff like that. I always sang. And my son now is doing trumpet in 6th grade. He just started the trumpet.
Excellent.
So hopefully he sticks with that because it was very expensive.
Yes.
It was about $900 for that trumpet.
I'm well aware. I've been involved with the purchasing of trumpets, specialty trumpets.
Yeah.
There's I did not know that. I thought my family was pranking me. They told me they needed a flugelhorn.
Oh, that's a real thing. Yeah,
That's a real thing.
Yeah, flugelhorn. Well, that's basically a trombone with the valves of a trumpet. That's basically what it sounds like.
It is a.
It's not what it sounds like to me, but
It sounds like a Dr.
Do you know what a
Seuss thing.
flugelhorn
I
is?
wouldn't dare to ask.
It does sound weird. It sounds. In fact,
It's close
some people
to flatulent.
some people call it a flugelbone, which sounds even
Ooh,
crazier.
That's even
Yeah.
weirder, yeah.
Yeah, this is a PG podcast.
Yeah.
I would like to remind you.
Oh no, flatulent. That's
No, I was talking about the flugelbone.
Just the bone
flugel.
part.
That's you thinking that. I wasn't
Yeah.
thinking that.
Yeah. What are you thinking, Bobby?
Bobby?
I'm just saying.
This is
that-
PG. I took cornet lessons. Is that similar? That's similar to
A
trumpet.
cornet is similar to a trumpet. Yeah, they are.
That's a trumpet without the keys, right?
No,
That's a bugle.
A bugle.
Yeah, cornet has
Right.
keys, but it is a
Cornet.
little different. It's a little higher, I think.
Oh, is it? Yeah, I don't
it
know.
higher?
I think
I
it has a
can't
little
remember.
mellower tone, maybe
It
not
might.
as sharp.
It
And I
might.
think it's a little easier to play than the trumpet from what
It
I
might
hear.
be.
But I took lessons in grade school and I was doing very well. And then when I went to junior high, this is how little I knew about, my parents were Amish, right? So we didn't really know a lot about the classes and school system. So when I went to junior high, I signed up for band thinking they would finish teaching me how to play the cornet. And then I got in there and found out that everybody already knew how to play their instruments. It was actual band. So I transferred out and never took another lesson.
Never
again.
learned how to play them.
Never learned how to play the cornet just because of that. But
Well, I guess we should have an intro.
Right, yeah. Like we just had a bombshell dropped.
I know.
Amish parents.
Amish parents, and you never finished the cornet.
Yeah.
that's right. That's right.
All right, Bobby, you're our intro guy.
Hi. Today is a special day. Every day is a special day if you listen to the national calendar, and that's what we're here to talk about. Why today is special. This is our podcast. Today is. I'm Bobby.
And I'm Joey.
And I'm Spike.
Welcome to Today Is.
All right. That's pretty good. That wasn't too bad.
What is today is?
Today, the subject today is Change Your Password Day.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Change Your Password Day.
It's National Change Your Password Day.
Now, to start off, Spike, what are all your passwords?
I brought them today because I found out about 20 minutes ago that that's what we were talking about. And this is I got to turn it up so that I don't get hacked. This is every password.
You did write down your passwords?
Oh, I've had, this is like.
Oh, this is what you've been keeping
like
track of your passwords
200
on.
passwords.
Okay.
For everything. And look at the scribble as I can't show the camera.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
But this is how they've changed over the last few years.
Yeah.
And they are in alphabetical order. That's the only good thing.
So,
but
before we get deep into the subject, we'll get on to your passwords here in a minute.
I'll tell you. I won't tell the
Yeah.
podcast, but I'll let you know any password you want.
I can't believe how much I'm loving this. One, it's an annual change your password day.
Yeah.
And
You know
two,
what? This
is it a
holiday,
law?
this holiday was invented for you, Spike.
It was?
To remind people like you to change your password.
People get to take off work to change their passwords today.
This is for people. This is for people in your age bracket, so that you can
This
remember
is
to
a
change your password.
stressful thing for me and everyone in my age bracket.
Yeah, that is true.
Changing anything to do with technology.
Yeah, that is true.
My blood pressure goes up as we speak.
Well, they updated like the way passwords even work. Like since in the last every year they seem to like. First of all, it used to be you could just have a password, right? You could just have any word you wanted, any series of letters, any series of characters.
Like 4 digits.
Yeah, it could be 4 digits, it could be 20 digits.
Nobody's going to guess that.
Yeah, whatever you want. Now there's guidelines. It's like it has to have a capital letter, and it has to have a number, and it has to have a special character. It's like, aren't you narrowing down what the password can be at that point? And by the way, how many people are not using like a punctuation as the special character? It's like, everybody's using like the exclamation point at the end or something like that. It's like, I feel like it's easier to guess passwords now than it used to be. But probably not.
I don't know that it is, but it's a constantly evolving thing.
It is.
And every year it's like when you have to change your password, they make it more difficult. You can't just add to the old one.
You can't. Yeah, exactly. You can't just add. You know what my favorite thing is when you don't get your password right. Twice, and then
oh my god,
you don't want to.
Your fingers shake.
Yeah, you're like, I'm gonna get locked out.
Try.
I'm gonna get locked out if I do it wrong again. You don't get your password right. Here's the thing I do. This has happened to me before. I don't know how this ever happens. I don't understand how this happens. And I've worked in IT. I've worked with people. I used to work for Apple, and I used to help people change their passwords and stuff like that for your Apple ID, which Apple ID has. Apple has one of the strictest guidelines and the strictest rules, and like you miss your password twice, they'll lock you out, kind of thing. And I have literally done the thing where you can see your password, right? You touch the little eye so you can see what you're writing. I'm like, okay, I did it right? Like I did it right, and then I'll submit it, and I'll be like, that's not right. It's like, all right, I guess I got to change my password. So I'll tell it to change my password. I'll get the email or whatever. I'll go in, and I'm like, okay, I guess I want to change it to what I want that password.
Put that one back.
You put that back in, and like, you can't use the same password.
Yeah.
And it's like, you just told me that wasn't it.
Someone already has that password with your email address. Somebody has already assigned to it. Sorry.
You're like, you just told me that didn't work. Like, that's the worst. I hate that.
Have you ever tried to change your email address on these sites when you don't have access to the email?
No, you can't do
they
that.
have?
Yeah.
It's impossible.
You can't do that. Yeah.
Because they send confirmations to the old email.
Yes.
And if you don't have access to
You're like,
it,
I don't even have that email anymore. Yeah. Oh, I ran into that a ton. I worked in tech support for a long time. Like that was my job out of college, was working in tech support. And I did that all through my wife's grad school and everything. That's how I worked us through to finish college. And I worked for a security company, like a home security company, which lots of passwords, stuff like that with a home security company. And so I did that for like 3 years, and then I worked for Apple for like 2 years after that. So like 5 years of helping people reset their passwords. And I tell you, you hear everything. Like you hear, and I most of the time, I never liked the age as an excuse, though. I never liked that when they're like, I'm too old to understand this. And it's never the 70-year-old saying that. It's always like the 50-year-old saying, I'm too old for this. I'm like, 50's not that old. You can figure out passwords.
They're just starting to learn they can use that as an excuse.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
You realize no one's buying it anymore.
I'm pretty sure it comes on the AARP pamphlet.
Yeah.
Like, hey, welcome to the club. These are the things you get to do now.
That's exactly what it is. They've just learned they're old enough to use old age as an excuse for things. Because my dad, I always think of my dad. My dad at the time was in his 60s when I had these jobs. He was in his 60s, and he had a technology job. He had an iPad, he had a computer. Never, he never had problems with his technology. And then I get like a 50-year-old, and they're like, I don't know about this technology, and it's like, you're. Do you have any kids? Like, or do you have like ask? Just go anywhere and ask somebody 2 years younger than you.
Have you bought a TV in the last 20 years?
Yeah, it's like
you can figure this out.
It's like we can do this, and they're like, I can't figure it out. You're going to need to send somebody to my house, and it's like, well, first of all, that's not something Apple does. You can go to the Genius Bar if you want to. That's what, or that's not what it's called. What's Genius Bar? No, that's right, Genius Bar.
They
That's
have
Apple.
made television purchase and even like printers. Have you bought a printer lately?
Yeah.
And everything's
Yes.
online.
Everything
and
is all
can't even
wireless now.
Find an or a question how to change the cartridge. You have to go and sign into your page
Yeah, that is true.
for your printer that's registered. I mean, I don't know.
They really have made things more. Everything gets more and more proprietary as we move on, and more online and connected. And like, you need to make a social media account to use this printer, and it's like, or like, you need to do. Yeah, that is true.
It's communism.
Yeah,
Right. And
for sure.
I don't know.
I believe it might be easier to change my identity than it would be to
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
register
to just
a
start a new life.
Register a new printer. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
No, you know what it is, Spike? It's the opposite of communism. It's capitalism. That's what it is.
That's true.
They want to buy.
They
Want you to buy stuff.
Sell you the
Yeah.
ink, and you can only get it through that website, and because they won't tell you what the number is unless you.
right.
You know what I
Log
did?
in.
You know what I did? I just gave up and let them control it. So I bought.
They send you automatically.
Yeah, I bought a subscription so that they send me it. It knows when my ink is down, and they send me ink. I mean, they're probably selling my information to China, but it's so much easier to just do it that way. I just pay a monthly subscription. I never have to buy an ink cartridge.
And now you've got 50 cartridges stacked up in the closet.
It's actually not too bad. They usually
with it
keep
well?
me only one ahead, so that's pretty good.
Do you have to return the used ones to them?
You
Recycle?
can return the used ones. They say it's environmentally better to return the used ones, and they'll recycle them. But you don't have to. You can just throw them away if you want to.
Now,
Yeah.
I've got to ask this question: like, how much are we printing? Like
Oh, I print a lot.
you
I
print
print a
lot?
ton because I print flyers for my shows.
Okay.
So
okay.
I print physical flyers for all the shows that I run.
That makes
so
sense.
that's why, and I can print 100 pages a month, and it rolls over. So if I don't use the 100 pages, it'll roll over to the next month.
Okay.
And then I can if there's a month where I need to print more or I messed up and I got to reprint, then I'm good. And my wife she doesn't use it as much anymore because she got one for herself at the office she's a teacher, so she used to use it a lot more. But yeah,
So our taxes
it's
are
great.
paying for your printing.
No, she actually uses a grant. Are you kidding? Taxes don't pay for anything
They
in schools
don't.
anthey have no money.
Buy their own
They have to
printer
buy
paper.
their own printer. They have to rely on parents to
Communists.
give them grants. Yeah, they have to rely on communism.
There you go.
No. That's they're not relying on the taxpayers.
Yeah,
not.
every year they get less money. So I don't know if we can.
I believe that. I see that they have to buy a lot to their own supplies and
Yeah.
things, and that's a shame.
There's always a list every year for
Right.
the kids.
For the parents to get,
Yeah.
that's true.
But
It's been a
she-
while for me, but I remember those days.
Thankfully, there are people in the district there are groups that will give grants, and so like she gets I don't know how much it is, but she gets a grant to buy certain things like certain disposable things like printers, printer ink, and pencils and stuff like that.
Classroom got a subscription. The Omaha
Omaha
steak.
steaks, yeah. You know what's funny is it specifically said nothing edible. Like they weren't allowed. She wasn't allowed to buy candy for the class.
Really?
Or anything like that. Like she was like, "Oh, I'll just buy some snacks for the class." And
No
stuff like
glue,
that.
no crayons. You know.
Yeah,
You can't- that's
yeah,
true.
right. What if?
Nothing edible.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, everything's edible if you
yeah.
try.
Those were the days. Huh?
Yeah. I You ever seen? Do you guys watch the Hunger Games movies?
Never.
I've-
I think I saw part of the original one.
The
but
the newest one, which is a flashback one.
I didn't see that, but I read the book.
You did? Well, there's a part where he says that he ate a jar of paste because he was starving, and I was like, "Oh, that sounds bad."
Yeah.
Like I don't even know. Would you even survive if you ate a jar of paste? Like, How would your insides handle that? That's insane.
I think it would it would bind you up.
That's what I would think. Like, I feel like your intestines are going to stick together or something. That's
We should
crazy.
try it.
Yeah.
Maybe next time you have a chili
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
do
We'll do a paste chili.
Paste chili.
When we get to National Eat Paste Day, I'm
Is that
in.
a real thing?
Yeah, I hope
would
not.
be-
I hope it's not a real thing.
I would be surprised if it's not.
Yeah,
But,
everything. There's a day for everything. We found out. But you saw the lists I sent you for
Yeah,
the.
that
was
was
2
amazed.
days.
I was like, holy.
That was 2 days. There are that many like national days or designated days that in 2 days. There was probably 10 a day or something like that.
Easily.
And-
Yeah.
And the best one was password change day. Out of all those,
You
that
picked
tells
it.
you how bad. That's true.
That's true. This week was actually kind of a light one. Like there wasn't anything that. I mean, it was all kind of stuff like that, like password change day, or we were almost going to do Scotch tape day, but then I was concerned with the brand name, like
I was
using the
gonna
brand
say,
name.
Isn't that a brand?
That is a brand,
well,
yeah.
How do they get their own day?
I don't know.
They
there's
probably
stuff like that all the
declared it.
time. Yeah, I mean. We know from
and-
Taco Day, it was like Taco Bell like started Taco Day or something like that.
Yeah. But
The
they didn't
National
start Taco
Day.
Bell Day.
No, that's true. Yeah,
You know,
that's true.
But
That's
I
true.
can't name another brand of clear tape.
I can't either.
Probably like Walgreens tape. I don't know.
3M.
3M
Yeah,
has
that'd be
a-
the only
has a-
other one
has
I
a
can think
Scotch
of. They have
tape.
yeah, 3M has a Scotch tape.
That's
I know that's a Kleenex.
It's like Clorox with
Or, yeah, or
bleach.
Clorox, yeah.
The brand.
It's like a brand name.
They did a
Irish
good job.
tape.
Irish.
You know what else is a brand name that you might not know? Good one. A nice Scott, Irish tape. I wonder if in England they call it English tape.
They just call it tape.
Yeah. Now what was I talking about? Nope, I forgot. What was I saying? Something about tape? I can't remember.
Scotch tape. We were talking about the brand. I don't.
Oh, the brand.
Another brand.
You know what? Okay, you ever heard of Joseph? You know about Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat?
Yes.
You know, Technicolor is a brand name.
Okay.
Technicolor is the
Like
is
a
the
studio, like a.
the company
The old
who
movies used to
yes,
say
old movies used to say
Now
filmed in
brought-
Technicolor.
Now
or-
filmed in tech. Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was a brand.
so Technicolor is a brand. It's like Kleenex, where like
Are those like a brand like trademarks? Are those unlimited? Like patents?
they're not. Yeah, trademarks are not unlimited. Also,
So Technicolor
eventually,
probably
it's in the public domain by now. I'm sure.
I would think.
It's been over 100 years.
Oh.
Which it used to be 75 years was the public domain time from on a trademark or a copyright. Now they've Disney lobbied for them to increase it to 100 years when Mickey was about to go into the public domain.
I'm sorry I asked
yeah.
that question. I shouldn't have asked about the
no,
patent.
I like it.
I didn't expect him to know that
Yeah, I know.
exact number of
Yep,
years. We'd get
100
off on
years.
that tangent. I'm wasting time.
So so at the 100-year
That's good
mark,
information
you
to
can
know.
and
Not-
actually Mickey is about to go into the 100-year mark.
Mickey Mouse?
Yeah. So pretty soon Mickey Mouse
Mickey Mantle.
will be the mascot of this podcast. Mickey,
Did you
Mickey
put
Mouse presents.
So how do you? So public domain, you can't rebrand anything. In other words, you can't create a trademark with that. You can't. It's not like highest bidder.
Correct.
It's just
It
from
is
then
now
on,
open to
anybody-
everybody.
so
Correct.
there could be a million Mickey.
Yep. Yep.
It's like everybody can do like Charles Dickens work now because
Yes, Charles Dickens or Sherlock Holmes. Did you notice that there was like a year where a bunch of Sherlock Holmes stuff came out, like movies or TV
I did
shows?
not. Although he was one of my favorite.
That
characters
was-
as a kid reading his book.
Sherlock Holmes hit the public domain like maybe 20 years ago, and then all of a sudden they started like Robert Downey Jr. has a series of movies, Sherlock Holmes movies, and then they did like 2 different TV shows all around the same time because Sherlock Holmes, the property, had hit public domain, so people could do
we're
that.
just getting to the part now where Watson is starting to get his shows. Like
Yeah,
there's
right.
a show
Yeah.
named Watson
Yeah,
that
exactly.
just started.
But it's such a well of good stories that people are like, hey, well, let's start doing Sherlock
Now
stuff.
anyone can solve a crime
Yeah, exactly.
legally.
Let's before we get back into our original topic of passwords, let's talk about you for a minute, Spike.
Yeah, Spike. I'd
Now,
love to
Spike,
know.
I have
That's my real name.
Spike is a stand-up comic, lives in Jacksonville, Florida. How long have you? What's your year? How many years stand-up?
40. Stand up.
Oh, you've lived in Jacksonville for
almost
40
12.
years?
Yeah.
Oh, 12 years.
I'm
so
61 years old. I know we look three fat guys from Ohio, but
yeah, that's true. Yeah, we all look the same to people.
but I'm 61.
61?
So I probably
But you've been here in Jacksonville for 40 years? Oh, that's
in
pretty crazy.
1984.
Oh, that was the year after I was born.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
1984. That was a good year. That was the year BYU won the national championship. That's the school I went to.
Was that with Ty Detmer?
Yeah.
See, that's the only reason I remember this because TYBYU.
Oh, actually, I take
it's a
that
weird-
back. No, it was
Vince Young.
no, it wasn't
was
Ty
Houston.
Detmer. Ty Detmer was the only
Heisman winner.
Heisman winner from
Oh,
BYU.
is that, okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever looked
I knew
at,
I remembered something.
Have you ever
with
looked at Ty
T1.
Detmer's numbers though?
No, in the NFL. You
He's
mean, or
no
college?
NFL. He was terrible. In college, he still holds records for college football.
Yeah.
He still holds like most yards or say like there's like 3 records. First of all, he broke like 12 records at BYU. I mean, no wonder he got the Heisman. And then he still holds, I think,
Most-
3 of them.
Most consecutive plays without a curse word.
Yeah, I'm sure that's one. The least amount of facial hair ever exposed on any quarterback.
No, that's cool. I don't.
No, he did. Yeah, he was a
So-
good quarter. He was a great college quarterback.
Yes.
But that was before you were born.
That was the year. Well, Ty Detmer. I don't know when Ty Detmer was.
Ty Detmer would have been like 88, 89.
Yeah, so I was
because-
around, but I was a little
Gotcha.
kid.
I was well out of high school.
Who was the quarterback? It was Rob. What was his last name? The quarterback for the national. I can't remember the national championship team.
I don't know. I just know that it was in between. It was in between McMahon and Steve Young.
Yeah, it was before Steve Young, but after McMahon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which McMahon was our first.
That's right. I forgot about Steve Young.
Yeah, Steve Young was. Yes, but I think McMahon was our first Hall of Famer, NFL Hall of Famer to have graduated from BYU. I want to say.
I did not know he was from there.
Actually, I find that surprising because there.
I think it was.
some other good players.
There have been some great players, but I think I can't remember. I know he's a Hall of Famer, so but
Yeah.
Steve Young is also a Hall of Famer, by the way. But I have met Steve Young a couple times. But every Mormon has, so I don't, let's just.
It's a requirement.
At some point, you end up meeting Steve Young. But I went to recruiting camp there, and I met him there at recruiting camp, and then I met him at a Pioneer event where he played his relative because he's a descendant of Brigham Young,
right.
and so he played Brigham Young in like a Pioneer event that we did at the 150-year mark for the church.
I'm going to say that feels like nepotism.
But yeah, I met him there too because I was in the choir that was singing on the stage that he was there, and he came up and shook everybody's hand and talked to us for a minute.
That's neat.
Good guy, really like awesome guy, and
Seems like it.
like genuinely a
Great
an
player.
awesome guy,
Good
great player, and genuinely an awesome dude. So what was our topic?
Me. I was here 40 years, and then
Okay,
like
so-
Moses in the wilderness.
So I'll ask you. So as far as stand up, what headliners that have come through the Comedy Zone do you hate? No, I'm just kidding. No,
Don't get me started. No.
Now how long? 12 years, so a couple years before me.
Just under 12. Yeah, it was February. I joined the workshop in 2013.
We'll go backwards with that question. What's been some of your favorite people to open for at the Comedy Zone?
Favorites to open for. My first MC spot on a weekend was Mike, sound effects guy from
Winslow.
Michael Winslow.
Yeah.
And he was amazing. I
Really?
learned so much that weekend
that's
just
great.
watching him and working with him. He treated me, he knew it was my first time, and
Yeah.
he treated me special. Brought me
Yeah.
out, made the audience give it up for me, and I thought that was really cool. So that's one of my favorites. And I love Jimmy Walker. Worked with him
Jimmy Walker's
quite
a
a few
cool dude.
times, and he's great.
Yeah, Jimmy
one of my
Walker's
favorites ever is Greg Morton. He's just
Yeah.
amazing. He's
Yeah.
a lot of people know him now from America's Got Talent and
Yeah, I love Greg Morton
and all that. But when he was coming through the Comedy Zone, a lot of people didn't know who he was. I didn't know who he was till the first time I worked with him. But just an amazing, amazing person.
So
and
good.
an amazing,
So
comedian.
nice and gracious, like
I mean,
willing
he
to
was-
talk and give you advice and stuff like that.
I've told the story many times, but I don't know. You can cut this out if it's boring. But I worked with him the first time, and after the weekend was done. Now, if you know Greg Morton, he's a very physical show. He does a lot of
Yes.
characters, a lot of
Yeah,
costume
he's crazy.
changes. I mean, he's literally drenched in sweat by the time he's done. He's exhausted. He wants to just pack up and get out of there. So I remembered that I hadn't gotten a photograph with him. So I went back behind the stage there where we enter the stage from, and he was trying to pack up his wardrobe and such. And I said, "Hey, can I get a selfie with you?" And so I assumed we'd just hold up the phone and, it was done, right? No, the guy insisted that he changed back into his suit
Into his
that
performance.
he
suit.
opened the
Yeah.
show with.
Yeah.
Then he walked us out onto the stage and made the staff take pictures of us from multiple angles until he was
Nice.
satisfied.
Nice.
I mean, I was like, this
Yeah.
is unbelievable. He didn't have
he's
to
a
do
good
that,
guy.
but that's just the kind of guy he is. So
So
he's,
he was
amazing.
almost on this podcast, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Greg was?
It didn't work out. So I had gone because he came in to he was here a couple months ago, and I went to the shows and got a guest set, but he actually before that started following me on Instagram because he's really into nerdy stuff. He's really into
Yes.
toys and Star Wars, and I had just started doing my toy stuff on Instagram. So he started following me on Instagram and then started messaging me, and it's like, "Hey, this is cool. You should keep doing this and this," and giving me some suggestions and stuff. Didn't even know I was a Jacksonville comic.
Oh, really?
Didn't know any of that. He just knew that he liked my toys and stuff. So I show up to the show, and he recognized me immediately, which I thought was crazy. Like I don't even know if I could. Like I don't know if I'd be able to recognize
It was the
somebody.
hat.
Yeah, maybe. Or I mean, I guess I have a recognizable get up here, but like I showed up to the club and he's like, "Hey, Joey, yeah, it's good." Like we were old friends,
Right. That's
And-
amazing.
And then he's like, "Hey, you want to get on the show?" And he gave me a guest set, and then I was we were talking backstage and great conversations, and I was like telling him about the podcast, and he's like, "Oh, when do you record it?" And I was like, "Well, the next one I'm recording is this day," and he's like, "I get." He had something else that he had to do in town, like he was doing like something online that day. Like anyway, it didn't work out. But he's like, next time I'm in town, let me know. We'll try to schedule to be on the podcast. So he's such a cool dude.
That's awesome. I hope he does it. Yeah, that'd be great.
I didn't know that. I love.
I didn't tell you that.
No, that's fantastic.
So next time he's in town, he's usually here in the fall. He's usually in
Any
here
other
around the fall.
superheroes you've held out on, Bobby?
Yeah.
Joey, that Bobby doesn't know.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But yeah, Greg's a good one. I think my favorite's probably Ali Sadiq that I've opened for at the Comedy Zone.
Awesome.
He was the first one I emceed for, and thankfully, so I was supposed to MC for Preacher Lawson, but I got bumped because he brought his own MC, which was Will Blaylock, and he brought his own MC, and so I just showed up to hang out. And then Preacher Lawson gave me a guest set on the final night, and I'm really glad he did that because it gave me the chance to do a set in front of a professional audience before I did my MC spots, and I think that really helped my confidence level going into the Ali Sadiq weekend.
Right.
And
It's funny you talk about. I mean, I remember that first MC weekend
Yeah.
for me. How you forget how awkward and nervous you really are. Everybody
Yeah.
thinks, "Oh, you're just hosting." You go up there and you.
because I
do a
mean,
few minutes of
he had
comedy.
us MC the local nights, so we knew how to MC. But yeah, it is.
But it's a different animal when you any other show that we were ever at. There was a group of comics that you knew
Yes.
with you at that show.
Yes.
Right.
And you could ask questions, you could
Right.
do things, and everybody was supportive of each other. On an MC weekend, you've got this out-of-town headliner, probably
Yes.
an out-of-town feature, and it's a bunch of strangers in the audience. There's no
Yep.
one there, maybe the club manager to help you a little bit, and you're looking at all these people coming in that have paid for a babysitter and paid for the night out. This
Yep.
is it. They're dressed to the nines, and the first person they're going to see is you, and suddenly that responsibility hits you like, whoa, this is a whole different playing field here.
Right.
But it's a great experience, and especially if you get 5 shows on a weekend,
Yeah.
back to back, it's amazing how
Which
you
one-
just start feeling it.
I have an answer in mind, but which show would you say was always your, like, did you have one show of the 5 that was the best one for you?
Well, Saturday early show was always the most attended. Sometimes Friday early show was the best show, but the 2 late show, Friday late and Saturday late, was like a crapshoot.
It was hit or miss, yes,
I
for
mean,
sure,
it
for
could
sure.
be
It was hit or miss.
20 drunks and just
I
a
would
free for all, or it could be an amazing show. What I liked about the late shows is that the headliners can do pretty much whatever they want and go as long as they want. So you'd hear things you hadn't
There's some
heard.
extra stuff, yeah.
But the early shows, to me, were the people were there to laugh. They were there for the show. They had planned for it for the week, and they were the most gracious audience.
Those are the fans, the early shows.
Right.
Those are the people who bought their tickets to see that guy.
Correct.
And the late shows, there were those in the late shows too, but the late shows also were people that were just like doing stuff on a Friday night or doing stuff. It's like they were just coming to a
They were
comedy
thrown out
show.
of another bar.
Yeah, exactly.
Comedy
Yeah,
Zone
that
was
was
still
definitely
open.
those. So.
One show that I've always loved is when a headliner is there on Thursday night.
Oh, yeah.
The Thursday night show, it's usually people who are real big fans. It's
Yes.
usually not.
Well, it's either one or the other. It's either it's either real big fans or it's people who have never heard of this guy because they got him for free.
Right.
Because nobody wanted to come to the Thursday show.
but they're usually fun shows.
But it's they're interesting. Yeah.
Right.
They're usually not my best shows, but they're always fun.
No, if you haven't performed in a week and then you get out there on the Thursday show, it's going to be your roughest show until you get your feet wet and know what that audience wants. But the headliners that are into performing, that really still enjoy it and come on a Thursday, those are a lot of fun. I agree.
Yes,
Because they
love
know that it's a special night. They can get away with anything, go as long as they want, and so forth. So those are.
And
those
they
are
have
good
the
nights.
time, like if they want to go a little long, they can because there's no second show on
That's- yep,
Thursdays.
Yep.
Well, Bobby, what was your favorite? What has been your favorite headliner to open for at the Comedy Zone?
I've had a lot of fun headliners. I think the one that I probably learned a lot from was Billy Gardell.
Oh yeah, Billy Gardell's great.
He's
Yes.
just such a great comedian. Like him on stage. Like, most people are familiar with his sitcoms now and his acting. He's great, does wonderful shows. But him on stage, he just takes that energy and he just works that crowd. It's fantastic to watch.
I saw Billy Gardell the second time. This is before I was a comic. The second time I ever went to the Comedy Zone was to see Billy Gardell. I specifically went to go see Billy Gardell. I bought tickets and saw him, and he was of that era. He was one of my favorite comics of that time period because he was just. He was just great. He was so. He had such a great personality on stage, and he was such a good writer. He's really good, and he never seemed like, even when he got his own shows, he always seemed like a down to earth guy. I don't know how he was in his personal life. I never really hung out with him or anything. I only met him a couple times, but like he owns a pizza place in Orlando. Did you know about that?
I did not.
Yeah, isn't it like he's that kind of guy where it's like, he owns a pizza place, and I think his brother runs it in Orlando. His brother's like the manager. I think might co-own it with his brother or something like that.
I have not followed his career as far as stand-up. Of course, I've seen his television. But do you feel like he has lost anything with the weight loss? In other words, his face to me doesn't look as
He is
happy
very
and
different,
funny.
yeah.
It looks more, I don't know. I'm just, from a analytic point of view, I have no idea. But can you
You
go
know what?
from a jolly face
Right.
doing jokes to a slender face and have the same effect?
I know we'll find out in a couple months.
Hey,
You're the lab rat. Bob.
Yeah,
Yes.
we'll find out.
yeah, that's actually one of the things I talked to a psychiatrist about.
Really?
As part of this process, yeah.
Well, I know that like some comics,
Me too. Can you tell?
I know some comics are like
In reverse.
What if the fat was where I was funny? Like, it's like or like somebody, who was it? Somebody like had to have something like a mole removed or something, and they're like, what was that? What if that was the source of my comedy? Was that mole or something? I don't. It's like you do get weird thoughts in your head, intrusive thoughts like that.
Right. Yeah. And so that is something I personally I had to come to the realization that I think living my life is funny, and I find the humor in it. So I will find the humor in other things.
Right.
But Billy is such a strong comic. I don't think that
He's such a strong comic. I don't think haven't seen him do stand up since he lost weight.
That's the thing. I haven't.
So I
seen
wonder
him
if
do
he's even
stand-up in
doing
years.
stand up now. I don't know.
I don't know. I hope so.
Yeah,
'Cause
I hope so.
he was really good, and he seemed to really enjoy it, which is one of the things that I think a lot of people forget is.
You know what? I was always jealous of guys with accents. Like, we all have Midwestern accents. So we all have kind of general, us three, I mean.
I have a Midwestern.
Meaning, yeah, we all three of us. But it's not like, but that's the most general American sounding accent. Like,
Okay.
like in fact, that was on purpose, you know, like newscasters get taught how to speak like you're from Ohio, basically, or Iowa, you know. It's like, the only difference would be like, you get closer to Michigan, you get that more northeastern
Wisconsin,
or northwestern
the
kind of
Canadian.
Wisconsin Canadian influence, but like Ohio for the most part, except for like Parma. You ever hear a Parma accent? Those are weird.
Oh yeah.
Parma. That's how they say Parma. It's near Cleveland, but with the exception of a few local areas, Ohio has that's the general American accent.
Right.
So it's like we all are. I guess you could kind of say accentless, even though somebody from the South, when I moved to the South, they're like, "What? You have a weird accent," which everybody has an accent of some kind. But I was always jealous of like people who have Southern accents or Brooklyn accents, or like I always felt like it was easier to be funny with an accent. I don't know if that's in my head or not, but like,
I think there's truth to that. I think there's a couple of things. First of all, I think that the octave and tone of your voice can add to the funny. When one of my favorites, you've talked about him, Tracy Lawrence. Is it no Tracy Morgan?
Tracy Morgan.
Tracy
Oh, yeah.
Morgan's voice.
Oh yeah.
That's hilarious, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't have to write it. He's funny.
can just talk and
he
be
can just
funny,
talk and
yeah.
be funny. Although he has great jokes too, but I think a voice. It's kind of like a musician. If you have a voice like that has a little coarseness to it, like a Bob Seger or a Bruce Springsteen,
character.
You're ahead of the curve, right?
Yeah,
So
sure.
I think a comedian with a little higher pitch, a lot of times, like a Kevin Hart that kind of goes up, and Chris Rock hits those high notes. I think it's easier to be funny and get that energy. But as far as what was your question?
accents.
Accents.
Well, the reason why
I think that
oh, go ahead.
like Carlos Mencia, when he does his Hispanic accent, is hilarious, and I don't speak Spanish.
Right.
Okay? I'm laughing because
Right.
of the way it sounds to me. So I think I think with African American comedians, I don't know what I'm talking about, but Ebonics,
The black accent, the black American accent.
When that comes out in true form,
that can add to a joke.
It can add to a joke.
for sure.
I can't tell
For sure.
the joke the same way,
Right.
even if it's not even
For
racial
sure.
material, because the
gonna
sound of
sound
those
the same.
words gets them laughter without it. So I think there is truth to that.
There's something to that, and I say that because, and I thought about it a lot because I've been working with Dusty Slay a lot, and
He's got a voice.
He's got a voice. He's got a distinct voice,
Distinct.
and he can say things that don't sound funny if you say them not in his voice.
But
Right.
And he'll say things, and now he is one guy that has really discovered his voice. Like he knows what he sounds like, and he
knows
plays
where to
into
pause,
it exactly.
The cadence and the sound.
I think cadence is more important
Than accent. Yeah, you might be right. Yeah, but when he talks and there's just things, and you're like, and it's not even like I'm sitting in the audience. It's not even like I hear people laughing. I'm like, why are these people laughing? It's not that funny. It's like, I think it's funny. Like, as a comic, I think it's funny, and I know that if I said the same thing, it wouldn't be as funny.
Right.
Like, he knows how to deliver a joke in his way that, and I mean, he just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Like, people love it. Like, it's great.
Well, you said you're jealous of that, and
I am
I
a
am
little
too.
bit,
And
yeah.
now that you say that, when you first said it, I didn't even know what you're talking about. But
Yeah.
yes, I have
I am
jealousy to be able to have that come out in a funny way without trying,
Mm-hmm.
and know that the material just adds to the funny. It's all part of the package. Nate Bargatze, when you said Dusty, I thought of him because he's got a totally different voice. It's very
He
mundane
does.
and very
He's
dry,
very
and very
mellow,
low.
yeah.
But what Bobby said about cadence, Nate has mastered the cadence.
Yes.
To know where to just stop, and people have to laugh. They have to the awkwardness and the where he's going, and it's a slow, methodical thing, and he just pushes you into that. And that's
You know what that is?
that takes experience.
Yes, it does, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of what we're talking about now and the jealousy comes from us not being as comfortable with our own voices yet. Like we could get to the point where we discover how to manipulate, how to use that to our advantage, just like they are. But I will say that Nate, the way he does it is he does have a Southern accent, but the Southern accent I don't think contributes to the comedy that much. It
No, I don't
maybe
think
makes
his
him
accent,
seem a little folksy, but I don't think his accent really contributes to the comedy. I think he has a way of delivering his jokes that we feel like we're part of the joke.
Mm-hmm.
We feel like we're him because he has such a mellow way. And a lot of mellow comedians have a problem when they first start out because they're not high energy and they're not. I had the problem with that when I first started out. Fred would always be like, "You got to talk higher." Like I was always talking to mellow and quiet, and then and I'd be like, "Oh, I guess I need to." And then I'd hear somebody like Todd Barry, and I'm like, "Well, Todd Barry's hilarious." And he's the most mellow, quiet guy I've ever heard, but he's figured it out. Like he's figured out his voice and figured out how to play to that. And I think it's the
I'm
same.
jealous of that too, because
Yeah.
if you do multiple shows in a weekend,
Right.
I'm exhausted. I don't have the stamina for
Because
that.
you try to bring up the energy. You try
I
to bring the
have to.
energy.
That's
yeah.
my voice. My jokes aren't funny to me unless I can deliver them at a certain pitch. I'll record my set, and I can tell if I'm a few notes below in my octave that I'm delivering it.
You don't
I'll
get the same
near
laughs.
the laughs
Yeah.
as if I'm just a little bit higher and a little bit more energetic. And so it takes a lot out of me. I wish, I'm so happy in a set when I get to one of those jokes that I can say it however I want, and
And it's
know
still
it's going to
funny,
get the
yeah.
laugh. I don't have to, I can actually rest on the punchline
Mm-hmm.
and know it's going to kill. Those are few and far between, but my energy level, I've found I discovered that years ago, and I've tried. I didn't want to be a high energy comic, and technically I'm not a high energy person. But I've found that I need that.
Just delivery's
to
better when you
deliver.
do it.
Yeah, the delivery's better. People buy into it more, and if I'm going to do it, I've got to put in that work and be able to keep that stamina.
I feel like I have it. I fluctuate. Like there are jokes that I have to tell high energy, and then there are jokes that I can sit there and tell, and they're fine, and I get the same amount of laughs. Or some jokes I tell I even are better when I'm mellow.
They are.
It just depends on my joke. I know that a few years ago I introduced sitting into my act, which when I first thought of doing it, I think I heard somebody say one time like, "Don't ever sit down. That's ridiculous." And then I was like, "Oh, okay." And then a couple years later, I was like, "Wait, that's stupid. I'll do whatever I want." And then it helped. Like there are certain times sitting can be powerful. Like sitting can really change the energy of the room
Any change can be powerful if it's done right.
if you do it right. Yes.
If you're like I've heard comedians that, and I'm not going to name names, but even some local comedians that are really high energy, that are some of the best comedians in this town, and they deliver high energy sets.
Right.
And then they move up through the ranks. Well, when they get to the headliner position and they're having to do 45 minutes to an hour of high energy, the audience gets tired of that energy.
Yes.
So they have to learn to then have that change where they bring
Yeah.
it back down, maybe have a seat
Right.
in part of your set and bring
that's
the
why I
audience back
introduced
in,
it, yeah.
and then you can build back up for the close or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's all important. It's just again a matter of experience and learning
Yep.
how to have the ebbs and flows in the set. But as a voice, you still have to know where the power comes from, and
For sure.
we can't all be Stephen Wright and just
Right, yeah. We can't. Well, Stephen Wright, he's the
was
opposite.
an alien. He
Yeah,
wasn't,
I know that is true. He's the opposite, though. It's like his low energy is our high end. It's like his low energy is part of the joke, the way he delivers his jokes. Plus, the writing is phenomenal. I almost never want to write one-liners. There was a point in my career where I was like, I don't want to write one-liners because there are comics out there that are so much better at it.
Intimidated by the greats,
like Stephen Wright. He's the perfect example of one-liners. In fact, it wasn't even until a couple years ago that I realized that I had written a bunch of one-liners just naturally, and I was like, oh, I guess I have like a good 20 minutes of just one-liners if I ever wanted to do that. But I've never had the courage to do a whole set of one-liners.
I couldn't do that. I
Do you have any one-liners in your stuff?
I'm sure that there's a couple sprinkled through, but there's.
You'll naturally come up with them, without knowing it, even if the one-liner is about yourself and stuff like that. But yeah, it's not something I've ever strived towards.
I have to think almost like a narrative. Like, okay, here's where I'm going to start. Here's where I'm going to finish, and how am I going to weave the story in between? Like doing a whole bunch of one-liners. Just I know I've got the mental capacity to do it, but it's exhausting and it's not the way I think.
Yeah.
I don't have the mental. Writing a one-liner to me is the hardest joke form because you can't disguise it. You have the setup and the punchline, and it better be funny or it's not going to work. I get lucky sometimes, and I'll have one-liners, but they end up usually being like tags or segues.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you said,
Right.
I want that flow, and it's all story form, so you can't just break out 4 one-liners. It doesn't make sense, but it might tag to a story and work that way.
I've seen a comic do it once, where he in the middle
different format.
I didn't think it went that well. Well, the jokes were good. The jokes went well, but I thought the format shift was odd because he got to a point in his joke. I guess I won't shout him out just in case he doesn't like what I say. He's a funny dude. Like, he's really funny. I think he's great. And he has a special. And he did it in his special. There was a point in his special where he switched, but he pointed out that he was switching to one-liners. And I think he had written kind of a joke for the transition to point out that he was switching to one-liners, which I think was not a bad idea necessarily, but it also... I think the transition was odd, and he had to then pull them. It was like he was starting a new set, so he had to pull them back in with the one-liners, which he did. He pulled it off. Like, the jokes ended up solid, but I think it's hard. It's so hard to transition into. There's 3 formats that it's really hard to transition from and to: crowd work, one-liners, and then personal stories. It's like if you told like a string of 3 personal stories that flow together, and then all of a sudden you transition into one-liners, that's really tough to pull off. Yeah. Same thing with crowd work, and then transition. If you end up accidentally doing 15 minutes of crowd work, which happens sometimes, and you don't expect it, and then you try to do material after that, almost always the crowd's going to turn on you and not even consciously. It's just because the format shift is just odd to their brains. I think to the audience's brain.
I want to say one of the other comedians I've seen recently, just a special, I don't know this person, but Jimmy Carr doing one-liners. Like, that's his thing. He's phenomenal. And I watch that. I'm just like, this is a different art form than what I do. This is completely different than me.
I tried to when I first started out. So you remember Nick Thune? Do you know who Nick Thune is?
Yeah, he's fantastic.
Nick Thune, he was one of my favorites before I started doing comedy. So I signed up for the workshop, and I paid the money at the Comedy Zone to do the workshop. And I watched one of Nick Thune's specials before my first day of doing the workshop, doing jokes in front of people at the workshop. Right. And I tried to basically copy him. Not his jokes, just his style. And I am not that comic at all. No. So it went terrible. I was not good for most of the 6 weeks of the workshop. I had to really looking back now and looking at my graduation. We did that the first episode? No, that wasn't the first episode. It's maybe like the third or fourth episode.
Right.
We watched. Did you watch that episode? We watched my first time doing my graduation show, and it was pretty brutal. It was pretty excruciating to watch. And looking back now, I'm always like, man, well, how did Fred even pass me? He saw something.
I didn't deserve to pass.
He saw something.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't have passed me.
Well, we're coming up on about 50 minutes here on our podcast. Did you have? Do we want to go back to the passwords? Do we want to? Speaking of switching formats and losing the audience,
I'm using my password to pull up where I'm going to be.
we kind of did it backwards this episode.
Yeah.
We kind of did the subject first and then went into the comedy.
I jumped.
No, that's fine.
Jumped the segment.
The first rule about this podcast is there is no format. There's no.
Thank the good Lord.
We just do whatever.
Well, I had just thought of some things like about passwords because I don't know. This is not going to be funny, so I'm just going to tell you this. But when I was, I owned part of a business for years, and our IT guy was talking about updating passwords and things, and he was constantly changing things, and I was like, nobody's going to guess that password. And he told me that, it's not some guy in a basement trying to guess your password.
Right.
It's an algorithm or a bot.
It's a computer program.
And they will literally, I believe he said, it's like 5,000 attempts per second.
Yeah.
That's how good they are. And when it's bombarding, I don't know how they get all those.
There's a term for it. I forget what it is.
But if you use anything that is remotely associated with your family or pets or address or 5,000 hits a second is going to get it eventually, right? And so I thought that was kind of neat. And I don't know. I try to use unique passwords, but I think the 2-step verification or the 3-step or whatever, to me is really the only safeguard, and that's why I hate it. Everything I do now, I have to sign on and then wait for my cell phone to get the text to acknowledge, and I absolutely.
But
hate
it is the most secure.
It is.
It is the most secure.
If that's what it takes,
Well, I've noticed that some companies have switched to a so they switched to a 1-step that requires no password. Have you seen this? Where instead of using a password, they do the other thing, like send you a notification on your phone or an email. It's like a certain, and this is
jumps to the second.
Yes,
step.
it jumps to the second step without having to do the password. Now, this isn't ever financial institutions or anything. It's always like Pizza Hut or something like that. It's some it's usually a food app that does it that way. But I actually like that. As long as you've got the correct phone number or you've got the good email address, I actually kind of like that I don't have to type in a password.
So it jumps to the second step for an app that has your credit card information.
Correct. Yeah. But I think that might actually be more secure than a password because nobody can, it doesn't matter. Like I guess the only way around that would be is if somebody had your phone, like if somebody stole your phone and then they tried to use the Pizza Hut app on your phone, but then my phone has a password too. So I don't know. I think,
I agree. I think it is.
I kind of liked it. When they started, it was a couple years ago, certain apps started doing that, but yeah, definitely 2-step is the more secure, but it is annoying.
I can't wait till I just start spitting on my iPhone so I can do a DNA test.
There you go.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. You're like, oh, sorry, there's too much.
You'll be the Hawk too.
Like this
passwords.
Like there's too much Gatorade in that spit. We need a better sample.
You don't really drink Gatorade that often. We don't believe it's you.
Yeah. No, it's crazy how. It is crazy how things have progressed over the years. Again, having worked in technical support for 5 years myself, it's like it is. And I came across people who had their accounts hacked, or had issues with that, especially in security. Like we had people who, I had cases that I would work on when I'd worked in the security company where it was ongoing cases that I'd have to continue to develop and stuff like that, where we'd find out that the reason why their security system was malfunctioning is because somebody had online access to their security system that they didn't want to have access to it. And it's like they had hacked their account and were unlocking their doors. And it's like, that's pretty scary that can happen.
I think it's a lot like, remember 9/11 when,
Where's
after
this going?
9/11, Everybody
Remember 9/11, right?
Everybody was like, okay, we
Yeah.
don't care. Take all our liberties. Just can't.
Yes,
Just,
yes.
we want to be safe,
Yeah.
right? And then you gradually move away from that
Yeah.
again. I mean, I think
was it called the
if you
Patriot Act
ever-
or something?
Well, that was one part of it, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like if you ever lose, I've got, knock on wood, I've never lost a large sum of money from a bank account that someone has hacked into.
Yeah.
But if that ever happens, I know that I will be willing to do 14-step verification
Yes,
if that's what
right.
it takes
If
for
that's
that
what,
never to happen
yes,
again.
exactly.
So I don't know. It's kind of,
I've
I feel
had
so sorry for people that have to start over with a new
I know.
ID. I mean, drivers. When you lose your wallet, that's like,
Yeah.
oh my god.
I've had my wallet stolen twice, and stolen, not just lost. And they immediately, both times, and these were in two different cities. One was in Jacksonville, and one was in Orlando. And since then, I've switched to this kind of wallet. I wear this, and it's a clip wallet. It goes in my front pocket instead of my back pocket, so it's a lot harder to steal. But I had my wallet stolen twice. The first time, I had cash in it. I lost it. They stole about $300 cash in it because I had just gotten paid from a
that
gig.
sucks, but that's
But that's the least of your
That's- yeah,
problems.
take
Like
it,
I'm like, fine, cash, like whatever.
Right.
But like it was the headache of having to cancel all my cards and everything because they immediately tried to
Use your
use
debit
the
card,
cards,
right, or
the-
your credit.
everything. They immediately
they go
tried
to-
everything. Now, thankfully, my bank was very good and stopped it without having. We didn't end up losing any money, but they immediately tried to Cash App somebody. Here's the thing that I don't understand: that Cash App account had a name and an address on it. Like, I don't understand how that works.
why they couldn't find them.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that was a fake person, or that was somebody else they had stolen identity from, or something. But
Right, yeah.
but I've had it happen twice, and both times they tried to Cash App somebody, and neither time it worked. So it has to work sometime, or else they wouldn't do it. But it didn't work either time. Didn't lose any money, but it is a headache to have to reset your cards, to have them send you new cards. You have to talk with the bank. You have to talk to their fraud department. And it was two different institutions because I had Wells Fargo, which is my bank, but then I had American Express that I had to deal with too. So it's like, and then it depends on who you the person you talk to too.
Right.
You know, you still have to talk to somebody. So
Different answers from different
yes,
people.
and the first time it happened, she canceled my card completely.
Oh, that
so
goes
like
without saying. Everything's canceled at that point.
But well, I know, but like
You even
I
talk
had
to
no
them, they're
card
like, "Well, we have
anymore.
to cancel your.
I had no card anymore with them. So like instead of canceling the card and sending me a new one,
Right.
they actually canceled the account. So I'm like, that's not what I wanted. I wanted to have an American Express. So like I saw my it kind of messed up my credit report for a minute because my my total credit limit went way down because my American Express had I lost all that credit limit for like a week until I got the card back, until I was able to get another card. But I had to like open another account basically. So
pain.
yeah, it was terrible.
Have you guys ever frozen your credit?
What's that mean? Like your credit?
Like, yeah, you go to the credit bureaus and you put a freeze on your credit, and what that does, you can still operate normally, but if anyone tries to open a new account like, in your name,
okay.
you can't.
I
do
probably
it.
should have done that.
And I've had it. My wife and I have frozen our credit for probably, I don't know, the better part of 10 years now.
Really?
And
But you have to unfreeze it every time you need to.
that's the problem.
Yeah.
I'll go in somewhere and go in to look at a car maybe or whatever, and they run my credit, and they're like, "You have your credit's terrible." I'm like, "What?" And then I realize I haven't thought
frozen it.
So then I have all these passwords and
Yeah.
all these things. I don't
it
think I
does
was
sound
holding
like
the
a
mic up
pain.
again, but. Anyway, it's a great. Clark Howard says, freeze your credit, and it works.
I probably should have done that when my
But
cards were
it's
stolen.
it's a
but-
pain. You just have to remember each time to thaw it, and sometimes you have to thaw all three bureaus, and it's a pain in the ass. But it's better than getting your money.
Yeah.
I guess that's better. Yeah, that's better than somebody opening an account in your name.
Because if they open it in your name, I mean,
That's
who's going to
terrible.
honor it? Who's going to
Yep.
pay you back? I mean,
Yep.
But then again, I'm going out and I'm buying a car like every 2 weeks, so it sounds
Yeah, so
like
you're
a
gonna have to thaw
problem.
your credit every 2
you probably
weeks to buy
never
a car.
shouldn't freeze yours. No.
I, when I got my wallet stolen, immediately I was like, oh, what if I get pulled over now? I'm not gonna have my driver's license until I can get to the DMV, and I did, but I thought enough to grab my passport. So I grabbed my passport, and as soon as I got, also, my car had been
Homeland Security.
I know. My car had been broken into, so I didn't have my insurance card. I didn't have my registration. I didn't have my driver's license. None of it. And I just had my passport. And I was like, a day from, I was about to go to the DMV like that day, and I got pulled over. And I told him, I was like, hey, listen, I know this sounds like I'm, making excuses, but my wallet literally got stolen like yesterday.
Passport.
And I was like, but I have my passport. And he's like, everything's correct on there? That's your correct address, all that stuff? I said, yes. And he goes, all right. And then he went and checked it, and he's like, all right, you're fine. I actually might have gotten out of a ticket because of it, though, because he probably was like, I don't want to bother with the paperwork.
His passport stamped Yemen.
Yes. Now, luckily, it was in my town. So it's like, I live down the street. So it's like, that always helps when it's a local cop to where you live. But yeah, I was like, I just knew I was going to get, like, it was in my brain, the back of my brain. I was like, I'm going to get pulled over when I don't have my driver's license. But
now with everything online, you would think, I don't know, can you?
You can do an online driver's license. I know Clay County accepts it, but not every county accepts it. So if you, let's say Clay County does, you're fine. But if, let's say, Duval doesn't, and you get pulled over in Duval, they're still going to require a physical. I don't know if that's how it is, but so that when you go to sign up for for a virtual thing, and it's just, I think it's in an app on your phone from the DMV, and you can just show them your phone and everything, and and the police, they have your records, so they can look it up too, but. It says when you go to sign up for it, they're like, just so you know, this works in Clay County, but it may not work in other counties. So they're like, we still recommend you get a physical card. I think eventually it's going to go to no cards, though. I would think.
Yeah.
Just a chip embedded.
Yeah, my insurance card for my last company I was with was on my phone. Like it wasn't. They never sent me a physical card. You could print it if you wanted to, but it was the same as what was on your phone.
Right.
And every police officer seemed to accept it.
Yeah,
So.
the law is you have to present it. You don't have to physically.
I mean, there could be a cop that's
old.
Old and hard.
61.
And is like really wants to give you a hard time, maybe. But I haven't had any problems using a digital insurance card. Now the company I'm with now sends me cards though. They send me cards to put in the glove box. Which I kind of like, actually. I like having the card in the glove box because then I'm like, what if my phone's not working, or what if or like I kind of like having the physical thing, even if it's just a backup, even if I never have to take it out of my glove box.
Yeah, because what happens if you forget your password?
I was just gonna say.
Yeah, exactly.
Officer, this is my third try. I don't know if I can get in or not.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I kind of actually do like still having the physical stuff. Maybe I'm old now. Maybe I'm just old now.
Yeah, it probably is some to do with our generations, but I think like you, I like to, even if it's on the phone, I still like to have a paper copy somewhere. I carry my wallet or in the vehicle.
Well, I think we had a pretty good podcast. That was pretty good.
That was fun, guys.
That was a lot of fun. We all know Spike's passwords. By the way, my password is Spike1234. That's my for all of my stuff. Spike
gave us away.
That's the same as my luggage.
Well, I had an exclamation point, so I'm safe.
All right. We usually do this at the beginning. Did you have any cool shows this week, or anything you want to talk about that you
I
did or are doing coming up?
Well, I hosted Wednesday night on the BOJ.
How'd that
show.
go?
That's the best of Jacksonville at the Comedy Zone. It went. I don't know. It was weird, but I'll say it went great.
Okay.
Excellent. It was.
All right.
Not,
they don't know.
they don't. It was fantastic. No, we had
sold
fun.
out.
It was not sold out, but it had a very respectable size crowd for that
That's
show, and so we're do that every Wednesday at the Comedy Zone, and I just happened to be hosting that night, and hosting's never a fun spot, but we had a good time and got through it, and so forth. And tonight I don't know when this comes out. Tonight I'm
Friday night.
I'm
this is coming out tomorrow, so you can say last night.
Last night I had a great show at I wrote it down here. It's not Voodoo. It's a place in Avondale.
Oh, is it the name that it's like a girl's name, right?
Josephine.
Josephine's,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've
Josephine's.
not been there yet, but tonight I'm doing that, and so that'll be fun, and hopefully it goes well by the time this comes out. And then I'm kind of wide open. I have a show on the 20th of February at Voodoo in San Marco, and
Awesome. Sounds good.
whatever else.
All right, sounds good. Bobby, you got any?
Also,
go ahead. Sorry.
I want to mention the workshop. We have a workshop at the Comedy Zone every Saturday.
Yeah.
And I try to be there and as well as these guys whenever they can. And we just workshop material. So if you're a local comedian, you want to come by at 3:30 at the Comedy Zone.
Yeah.
We have about an hour and a half. We work on material, and also we are starting a new class. It's not officially associated with the Comedy Zone. It's affiliated with River City Comedy, who is booking the Best of Jacksonville showcases on Wednesday nights. And they're starting a new class. We postponed it a couple weeks, but if you want to sign up for that class, contact Alex Sanders by email. It's Alex Sanders Comedy and at Gmail, and you can sign up for that class, and then because that'll start in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Comedy Zone. Come to the workshop. Come sign up for the class. Spike will be there. He's there every Saturday. So those are a lot of fun, and you get some good feedback. Bobby, you got any shows coming up or?
Yeah, I've got 2 shows that are coming up. February 15th. That's the secret show. It actually starts at like midnight, so it's technically the 16th.
I did that this past Saturday.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I had a really good time. You're familiar with the venue.
Yes,
It's
yes.
at the Improv Place, but it's
First
a lot of
Coast
fun.
Comedy, yeah.
First Coast Comedy. It's a lot of fun and very loose.
Yes.
Very loose. People. There was a good crowd.
I'm excited for it. It's a late night show.
Yeah.
I'm usually
It's
not
very
a late night guy, but it's a great venue.
I got home at 3 a.m. because I had to go to Waffle House afterwards. So.
Exactly. And I'm gonna do Best of Jacks. I think it's like February 25th or something like that.
Nice.
Last Wednesday of this month. And I've got a couple other like private things, events coming up. I'm kind of looking forward to. So.
What's your social media? What's your
Mine?
Yeah.
I have a website,
You do.
spikescomedy.com.
if he remembers the password?
I rarely go there, but and you spikescomedy.com. And so I do you can find my other information on there as far as my phone number and my
Spikescomedy.com,
email.
yeah.
Yeah, and I on Facebook it's Spike Yoder. So that's pretty much it.
And I'm Bobby Parker Comedy. I'm doing some upgrades and changes this weekend, so look for shows and some other fun posts coming up soon.
And I'm Joey 5 Cent on Instagram, Joey the number 5 and then CENT, and everywhere else I'm Joey Nickel .05. So and the podcast today is podcast on all the stuff. I think we should make a Facebook page. I think
Yeah.
we're going to do that this week.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. Okay. I think I'm going to make a Facebook page this week for us because I think so. Last week I posted the first 15 minutes of our podcast on Facebook, and it got over 100 views. 15 minutes is a lot easier to stomach than an hour-long podcast sometimes.
True.
And there's a demographic of people who like my stuff that don't really know how to do podcasts. So I think posting it on Facebook, I think I'm going to keep doing that, but I want to now create a page for it and then maybe share it from the page onto or something. I don't know. But I'm going to create a Today Is Podcast Facebook page. But we have Instagram, Today Is Podcast. So check us out there and download us everywhere. We're on YouTube, we're on iTunes, we're on Spotify, we're on Amazon, all the stuff.
All of the things.
All the stuff. And this will air Saturday. This will air tomorrow. So
Okay, cool.
tomorrow or today, you're listening to this today, February 1st. Password. Wait, what's it called? Change your password day.
Your password day.
All right. Well, I've been Joey Nickel.
I've been Bobby Parker.
I've been Spike Yoder.
Thank you for listening to Today Is. See you tomorrow.
Have a good one.